if you're going to go cheap at quarterback, you pay guys like Kendricks. That's the type of people you bring in, because they are definitely going to be force multipliers. They're definitely going to help you in a major way in terms of productivity and creating splash plays for you. So that's why we're kind of like at this crossroads of he's available if we go this route, but if we go this route for the quarterback, then guys like him aren't available because it's just going to be too much money being spent now.
It makes the Mason option a lot more appealing, especially when you're talking about Mason versus Carson Wentz or Jameis Winston.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, man, if we have Mason, that means we could bring in maybe Kendricks if he's cut, and then also Stephon Gilmore. Then could we add like Cordell Patterson on offense? If you're telling me we could do that, and then if we bring in Wentz, we got to go bargain on all those positions. It almost makes you like, let's roll with Mason. Let's see what happens. Because the difference between Wentz and Mason throughout careers, yes, it's significant. But for next year,
it's significant.
For next year, could it be not as significant?
Right.
Or could Mason actually even play better than him? I don't know. Now you're just playing percentages on if he could do that or not.
Yeah.
It feels like Colbert and the Steelers organization are high on Mason, though. They're higher on him than anyone else.
Well, because you have to remember, this is the guy that they drafted. When you draft a guy, when you spend all your time, all your resources evaluating him, and then you get him and you feel like, hey, we had this level grade on him. Think about how we grade our prospects now when we talk about him, right? And we're still like, hey, man, we think this guy can go in the second round, but if we got him in the fourth, it's a steal. They could have said the exact same thing about Mason. Hey, we think this guy has a big arm. We think he has prototypical size. We think he sees the field well. I think he's a first-round talent. Oh, he slipped to the second. Oh, he slipped to the third. Let's get him now. So that's why it's like, man, I could understand if they truly felt that way about him, that strongly about him, that they really want to give him the best opportunity. And they could be saying to themselves, we really haven't given him the best chance to succeed since he's been here. And this is the first year where we're really going to give him that opportunity. And that's why it's like, I can totally understand it. If they really, stick with him and go that route, because it just is different when you're the person that has to put your neck on the line for a player, when you're the person that scouts this player, when you're the person that vouches and bangs on the table for a guy like him.
Yeah. Kendricks, Gilmore, Witherspoon, then we still have our draft picks. That could be sick.
Yeah.
We really could put together a good team. I have no doubt that we can make the playoffs this year. I really don't.
We are like, because we have enough pieces already in place. It just depends on how we want to improve this roster. If we want to improve the quarterback position drastically, then you go and get you a higher end guy. You spend. But if you don't want to go that route, then like you said, you roll with Mason or Haskins, or you draft a young guy. And then after that, you boast up everything around him. You have to do that part, but it has to be one or the other. And the beauty is, we're going to get a chance. We're going to know within the next couple of weeks. Once free agency starts, man, we're going to have a really good idea. If they go out there and they, secure a big name free agent quarterback, or they go out here and make a marquee move to trade for somebody, then it's like, yeah, we know exactly what the idea is by the time the draft gets here. But if free agency is quiet in terms of no quarterback play, but we're seeing them bring in a Kendricks, or we're seeing them bring in a higher end left tackle or offensive lineman, now we're going to kind of have an idea like, all right, this is what it's looking like here.
The thing with Mason that's frustrating right now is people say, man, he could get the job done. Maybe we can make the playoffs, but we don't think he can win you a Super Bowl, or that whole moniker. I don't know if we could say that officially yet. It's just the frustrating thing for me. You know how I am with quarterbacks. I want to know what they're like late game situations, what you're like, all the chips on the table, playoffs.
How do you respond in those moments?
We haven't seen that from Mason just yet. I mean, he did have that last drive in the Browns game to get us back into it within a 2-point conversion, week 17 in 2020. And we missed on that 2-point conversion from what I remember, right? And we only lost by 2 that game.
That's correct.
So that was kind of nice, but I haven't really seen it at any other point with Mason. Sometimes when young guys come in, you could just see the effect. You could just see people do it, like Joe Burrow.
We said Lamar. We saw when Lamar came in. We saw, we can go down that list of even Baker to an extent when he came in early on. You could see all right, this dude has a little bit something here. He's whatever you call it, he has some of that. Now, it ain't consistent enough, but we saw flashes of it at least.
But with Mason, I'm just wondering, do we need to see more of him? That's all. Can we give him some of the benefit of the doubt? It's just frustrating for me not knowing. I know what Kirk Cousins is. I know what Jimmy. I know those dudes. It's just like Mason. Could we see him in a matchup versus the Chiefs in the playoffs? Could we see him in a matchup versus the Bills against
Oof.
Burrow? Could we see
Oof.
that? Right now, it's looking
It
like
sounds
no,
so
but
daunting,
I don't want to
right?
write it off completely.
Yeah.
That's all I'm saying.
No, I like that approach. I do like that perspective on it, and because you are right, we did. A lot of guys from that first season just wrote the book, like wrote him off, and was like, "Yo, he's trash, he's done." But like we said, he's every time,
And I
he's been
understand
out
why.
there. But at the same time, it's like, man, how many young players have we talked about that struggle in their first year? How many young guys do we talk about have to make that second year leap? And he is a guy that we've seen constantly improve. Every time people brings up negative things about him, it mainly is about that first season. And that's the part where it's like, man, if you're judging this guy solely on that first year, I do think you're doing a little bit of a disservice to him because he has shown improvement. He's already shown that. We just haven't seen a big, large sample size of it. But I do think that he has grown a lot more from that first season.
Yeah, and actually, if you want to talk about clutch moments, let's give him some credit for the Lions. It wasn't
That's what I'm
he
saying,
wasn't the
man.
reason we lost it in
Not at
overtime.
all. But think about how many people put that on him. Oh, man, he missed that throw in the end zone to Ray Ray. It's like, okay, yeah, he missed that throw. But what about the other throws that he did make? You can't minimize what he did do because of this one error that he had. He's not perfect. That's the reason why he wasn't starting. But at the same time, it's like, no, he's shown that, hey, in a critical situation, in a situation where nobody really could prepare for Ben getting COVID the night before, like, how crazy was that? It's like, man, he goes out there, short notice, crazy weather. Don't forget that also. And he still had this team in a position to win. So for me, man, I don't look at that as a negative. I'm sorry, I don't.
Yeah, it wasn't his fault. The defense let up.
Right.
Was it like 200 plus yards
Absolutely.
on the ground for the Lions?
And it was like, who's these running backs? Yeah.
Yeah, no
I'm like,
name.
that's not even
it wasn't
Barry
even
Sanders
Swift.
out there, dude. Like, seriously, man. Yeah. It wasn't even Williams. Think about it, wasn't even Swift or Williams.
No,
The
there
other
was
guy.
one guy. It was like
who's
the
this
third
dude?
one
Yeah.
that really busted off. He busted off like the 50-yarder.
Exactly, man.